All right, Bill. So the first question is, what do you think of this news that's breaking at this hour about Jeff Bezos stepping down from a company that you worked at for a very long time?
Well, I think it's bittersweet news. It's I'm the bitter part is it's the end of an era. The sweet part is that the end of one of the most successful runs of a business leader in perhaps the history of business. So Jeff, has built one of the most amazing companies in history. Is going to be known as not only a great innovator, but a great manager and a great teacher of management science to people as well. So he's an incredible man, and so it's sad to see him end his reign as the CEO of Amazon.
Yeah, you would understand better than most that the titles. It's a title change for him, and Andy Jassy becomes the CEO. What is, for all intents and purposes, what does that mean inside Amazon?
Well, the details of which, of course, one can only know if you're inside Amazon. But based on having read the letter that Jeff wrote, and where he explains that he's going to be the day-to-day responsibilities for running the company will be handed over to Andy, and that Jeff will be involved in managing and involved in new initiatives. In many ways, this is actually a continuation of the role that he took on, frankly, back in beginning in 2004. He put me into a new role at that time, where I, along with Steve Kessel, started to formulate the plans for Amazon's digital media and device business, which is now the business that makes everything from the Amazon Kindle to the Echo, and Prime Video and Amazon Music, which are the businesses that I helped found and run. And Jeff, starting at that time, started to spend most of his time with Steve and I and the other leaders of digital, and as well as with Andy Jassy and the early AWS team, to help cultivate and grow these new businesses. So he had developed a really strong management bench, and for the last several years, he's been relying on Andy and Jeff Wilkie, who in their own right are both incredibly capable leaders of running the day-to-day business, while he could focus on new product innovation and invention. So I think in many ways it's a continuation of what's been going on for a long time with the company, but it's also an incredible acknowledgement that Andy Jassy is a fantastic leader and is going to be a great leader of Amazon, and I can't wait to see what he does.
Having worked with him, I mean, how is he different than Jeff Bezos?
Yeah, so Andy, I worked with Andy a long time, and he's an incredible leader. And Andy is, like Jeff, Andy is incredibly detail oriented. He digs into the details. He understands the details of the technology, of the business, of the customer, at an incredibly granular level, and uses that to inform, the decision making. He's been incredibly inventive in his own right. If you think about the fact that he has created an entire category that didn't exist with cloud computing, a category that, for all intents and purposes, should have been the business of Oracle and IBM and Microsoft to own, and yet Amazon, invented it and has built it and is still the worldwide leader. So, and Andy's a shrewd operator. He manages, he always started off with lean teams and was able to do more with less, and to manage a really tight ship. And he's going to be an amazing leader for all of Amazon.
Why do you think Jeff Bezos steps away right now? He's still a relatively young man. Why step away now? Why make this change, do you think?
Well, only Jeff could really answer that question. But I think that if you look at what he's built, he's built an amazing company. He's got an amazing leadership team. He's built frankly, he's also built a set of a management science. The forthcoming book that my co-author Colin Breyer and I write, that comes out next week, called Working Backwards. We describe what we call the Amazon invention machine. And this is something else that Jeff invented, which is a way of managing the company to grow and scale. Having built that, he can rest assured that the company is going to continue to go forward with thinking about problems the way he would, making decisions the way he would. His imprint is on the company. So I think in terms of the details of why he chose this particular time, Only he can answer that. But I think he's also, as you know, he's got many other strong interests, whether it be space travel with Blue Origin, whether it be the Clock of the Long Now project, or the Washington Post, or some of his newer initiatives like the Bezos Earth Fund. And so I think, as he said, it gives him time to spend more time on that while still being involved with the parts that he loves about helping Amazon, with new product innovation and big decisions.
Yeah, you just hinted at your book that comes out here next week, correct?
Yeah.
What was your experience at the company? You were there for quite a while, and obviously a lot of people both in and out of Seattle like to talk about the business practices there.
Yeah, so I was with the company for 15 years. I joined back in 1999 and left the company at the end of 2014. And I spent a decade as the vice president of digital media, where, as I said, I helped formulate the early strategy for that business. And I ended up founding and leading the businesses that are today known as Amazon Music, Prime Video, and Amazon Studios. And, it was the highlight of my career. During that 10-year period, I worked very closely with Jeff to formulate the detailed plans and work through all kinds of, inventive ideas, many that we tested. Some worked, some didn't work, and eventually landed on something that a recipe for success that ended up being very successful to make those businesses globally, popular with tens, hundreds of millions of customers. So, my experience was that it's something that I can't really replicate. But what we sought to do in the book is to help make pass on what we've learned there and the specific processes and techniques that Amazon developed to really help you focus on the customer and work backwards and become stay innovative, even if you're a larger company, or how really any company can adopt some of the smart principles and practices that Amazon has developed and use them to get better.
Yeah, based on your experience, I'm curious your take just with the timing of this all. There has been a significant amount of negative attention to the company. I mean, just today, the Federal Trade Commission announced a major settlement with Amazon over pay of the Amazon Flex drivers. You're well aware of the discussion in Seattle about payroll taxes and Amazon doing more in the community. It's almost like they buried the lead on a very busy news day. I'm just curious, what your perspective is when you hear so much negativity around the company, given it sounds like you had a very positive experience there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for better or worse, all large institutions are subject to a lot of scrutiny, and they should be. Large institutions and large companies have a big impact on all of our lives. And one of the consequences of becoming a large, successful company is then you're subject to a lot of scrutiny. Amazon employs more than 1 million people around the world. And they employ an awful lot of, I believe they're now at the largest employer here in Washington State. They recently passed Boeing. So they have a huge reach and influence here on the community. Like many of us, when I joined the company back in 1999, if you had told me that this is, where we would be in 2021, I would have laughed to say like, I can't believe that would really be true. But the company's been, very successful. As for the specific policies and practices that they have, this is not something that we really cover in the book. What we're trying to share in the book is what are the management practices the company's developed that really any company can use to become more customer centric, learn to think long term, to focus on innovation versus being competitor focused, and how to focus on having operational excellence. So our goal really is to pass on what we learned at Amazon to the next generation of business leaders, to the next would-be CEO in their garage that wants to start the next Amazon.
And with that